So there we go, utter destruction for New Zealand, 44 points to 6 against Argentina. The All Blacks in a World Cup final yet again, and I have to say it was pretty easy. Argentina, they'll be very disappointed. Such a proud rugby nation. They just didn't fire a shot. They didn't play well at all. The game was over with 25 minutes, 30 minutes on the clock. A bit embarrassing? Yeah, I'm afraid so. For New Zealand, it's the perfect semi-final. For the neutrals, yeah, it's a bit disappointing. It wasn't the great contest that we saw in the quarterfinals, but it was something that the neutrals would have feared. But for New Zealand, the fans, the players, they won't care one bit, because this was perfect preparation. They got to go through their set piece, which looked great, their physical play. They kept to rest an extra day. They got their subs on early, and they even chose to play with 14 players at the end. Insult to injury there. For Argentina, yeah, a poor performance. And right from the off, New Zealand were kind of saying, look, we don't think you guys compete our defence. In fact, we're not going to compete the ruck like we did against Ireland. Against Ireland, I think they knew they had to stop the Irish attack because it was that good. Against Argentina, they just stood off, got their numbers in the line and said, you come and attack us and we'll just choose when we're going to turn the ball over. Although it backfires a little bit with an early penalty to Boffelli, 3-0. But after that, it worked an absolute treat. And sure, there wasn't the rabid intensity from the quarters from New Zealand, but it was controlled, and it was deliberately controlled. At the beginning I was just wondering, are New Zealand offered a bit here? But I think it was they just knew they were better if they kept nice and clean. And the mauls, straight away Argentina couldn't cope with the mauls. 3 New Zealand mauls in a row. Argentina in big trouble. Simple one-out runners, that's all it took, and then acres of space out wide for Will Jordan. Very simple but very effective, especially in wet weather. So 3-7 straight away, and they didn't really look back. Now the next try came from absolutely picking the right time to jackal, and it's Mark Talea, who was brilliant in tight actually, to wing it in tight this time with a jackal. Argentina, even 14 minutes in, I thought, looked defensively shot, which was a worrying sign. Very slow to get back the whole game. Were they fatigued? I don't know. But anyway, they can't stop Geordie Barrett as he barrel rolls right into the corner. And Argentina just looking devoid of answers defensively. So big worry early on, and it proved to be the case. So that was 3-12. And Argentina, I wrote here, just simply have to find a way of committing more New Zealanders to the defensive ruck, but they don't. They play through their normal system. They kind of let New Zealand get up off their feet and get in position, and that's something they didn't adapt during the game. Yeah, I made a note here as well, 3 poor clearing kicks from New Zealand. Mo'unga slicing one, 2 too long on the kick chase as well. So kicking wise, I think, yeah, that's the area New Zealand need to improve. But line speed from Argentina all game was so slow. I don't know what was up with Argentina. Let me know if you've got a theory. But they weren't flying up like New Zealand were. They weren't putting New Zealand under any pressure particularly. But anyway, Mo'unga, poor short clearance kick, like I mentioned, actually gives a good chance for Argentina to score an easy 3 points. And that is the last points they'll get on half an hour, 6-12. Gonzalez makes a terrible tackle in the air on Will Jordan, and Argentina did make some really poor unforced errors, handing those easy 3 points straight back. So that's 6-15. Then before half-time, we do have time for another try for New Zealand. And the attack from New Zealand, their pod shape was seriously simple. They weren't playing out the back loads. They were just getting 3 forwards or 3 players, making steady ground. No chance of Argentina getting in for the turnover, and they just shorten up the Argentinian defence, wait for the opportunity, and it's Talea, who had a brilliant game, slips through the tackle, and Frizzell literally walks in the corner. So embarrassing stuff for Argentina, losing that physical battle. At half-time then, it's 6-20, and I wondered if Checo would grab hold of them and they'd come out raring to go in the second half, but not really. The poor performance just turned into a horror show right from the kick-off. They muck up the kick-off. I think it's Gonzalez again. They get destroyed in the scrum. Bertrand over drifts, and Smith just dummies easily, goes through. Nice try, but too easy really. 6-27. And like I say, those simple New Zealand forward pods are just making ground, and they know it's working, so they just don't change, which is what you should do, of course. On 45 minutes though, New Zealand, their first big defensive error, not posting any blindside guard, but Smith brilliant covering tackle, scrambling to the rescue. So good stuff from Smith, but yeah, got to put a guard on those rucks, of course. On 47 minutes we get another try, and it's horror show defending, you have to say, from Argentina, as Petit and Cadella just open up a massive gap. They're too slow to cover Mo'unga, who waltzes through. Talea's working off his wing. Nothing fancy from New Zealand. They're beating Argentina anywhere, and Frizzell just muscles over, carrying a couple of tacklers over with him. I think Petit is one of those as well, so not a good phase for him. 6:34, and literally at this point, with more than half an hour to go, the game is gone. They're losing the physical battle of Argentina, just nothing going for them. They're not getting anything right. They need a moment of magic, and they do have one magic man who I think was the bright spark in this game, Matteo Carreras, possibly one of the wingers of the tournament, just a brilliant player. Breaks from nothing really in the 22, and a pinpoint crossfield kick from his namesake, Santiago Carreras, I think, and they go the length of the pitch. It looks like they might score, get something from this game, but the scrum half Bazin Velez, who's on for Bertrand, who didn't have a good game either, he fumbles, so all hopes are over at that point. Okay, on 60 minutes, another try for New Zealand, and they have unloaded their bench early, and they get that extra day recovery as well. So like I said, physically this was perfect for New Zealand. So easy for Frizzell though, who pops Tomatai Williams, the big man, through a half gap. The defence is so lumbering and slow from Argentina, and Jordan just walks in another try. 6:39. Making a note here, Talay is literally playing like an extra forward, and he's not massive, but he's still bumping guys off and slipping through. Really tricky guy there, so you can see why he's back in the team after his naughty boy step sitting out in the last game. 65 minutes, there is a yellow card for New Zealand. Only the one silly action of the game, Scott Barrett slapping the ball down. Smith did that in the last game as well, so just a few silly things maybe they want to cut out there, but it has slowed the game down. It did kill the momentum until Will Jordan picking a nice inside line, although far too easy to get through from Argentina, and he just decides to go for it, chips ahead, great gas. 6:44, and Mo'unga misses an absolute sitter, capping off his poor kicking game. So that is something to worry about for New Zealand. They could, of course, go to Geordie Barrett or Bowden Barrett. I don't think they will, but yeah, you don't want to be missing sitters like that in a World Cup final that might be a lot closer. Matteo Carreras still making the breaks, making a note there, and very interesting after that, New Zealand not choosing to bring Scott Barrett back on. Is he carrying a knock? I don't know. Or are they just practicing playing with 14 men? It's kind of insult to injury, rubbing salt in the wound, whatever we want to call it. Just saying, look, we're so much better than you. We don't need to bring him back on if that was the case. And another little blot on the copybook from Mo'unga. There's an easy 2-on-1, a walk in, and he decides to hold on to the ball. He'll be really annoyed with that. So not the best night for Richard Mo'unga. But anyway, the whole team absolutely smashed Argentina there. 6:44, waltzed into the final. You could argue, was it good prep for the final? But I don't think they're going to worry about that. They had a really tight one against Ireland, a great workout there, and they got through this game practicing their basics, nice and simple, no big injuries. I think that's the way you want to do it. So is that advantage New Zealand in the final? Well, they put away Argentina with aplomb in this game. Well done to them. Argentina, they'll go away and think what could have been, because that game just passed them by so quickly. Pop all those comments below, and I'll catch you next time.